Tonight's presentation is Farmer Roy with fall and winter vegetable gardening in San Diego County. And I have a video to play for you before I turn it over, literally on my new Lazy Susan, before I turn it around to.
Here at Poway Gardens. We're nestled in the beautiful Green Mountains of Poway, California. There's nothing but nature all around us. We produce 25,000 pounds of produce a year. It's all for the residents. Bottom line, we do a lot of things here that are just extremely unique, very special, and one of a kind. I love it.
I'm gonna try not to cry. It's a huge decision when you have to place a loved one. Trust is paramount to making a placement. We knew this place was perfect with the gardens and the butterflies and the birds. Immediately, my mother was interacting more. She just blossomed once she was here.
We have a horticultural therapy program here that's been recognized nationally, and we have a beautiful greenhouse that produces all of the plants from my gardens here. We could see the smiles and the anxiety lifted off some of the residents' faces as we brought them out. It's well documented the benefits of plants. They know that they're doing something with a purpose, a goal in mind, and they really want to know, how did that plant do? Did we do a good job?
Good? Uh-huh. There you go. I always had a garden. I like to get dirt. I like to get down in the and plant, and I like to watch things grow. And you start from a little seed or something, and you get a beautiful flower or something to eat.
This is our version of seed to table. I mean, all this produce is getting used by the residents. I mean, they're eating healthy, nutritious produce. They're helping the community. They are flat out helping the community. They know that a lot of that food is going to help others less fortunate. That really puts a big smile on their faces.
When my mom first came, she would go down to the Palms, the bigger building, and engage with the school children that came up, do some of the crafts with them. She enjoyed their performances.
We've been doing our intergenerational garden club here for almost 12 years. We have lots of children that come and visit. They come to learn how to grow in the garden. They come and take residents by the hand, and they're all enjoying the fruits of their labor.
My mother would enjoy so much seeing the kids, and it would just brighten her face and her demeanor. She would talk about it later. I think there's just such joy that comes out in the kids as well as our senior citizens.
It's all about creating a better quality of life. My mother passed away of Alzheimer's, and it's important. It's important to communicate with them and do things with them and show them things and talk to them. Just talk to them.
She would just sit with her chair looking out the window every day, just saying, this is just such a beautiful place. And recently began calling this her home. She said, I'm so glad to be home.
Okay, that was pretty incredible. And now I am going to use the Lazy Susan.
All right, that's pretty fancy.
I know. I went to Home Goods just for you.
All right. Good evening. How you doing? So I'm Roy Wilburn, Director of Horticulture here at Cadence at Poway Gardens. Some of you might have remembered it in the old days. We were Sunshine Care, but nothing has changed in my life in the gardens. Nothing has changed in our horticultural therapy programs here. Nothing has changed in the production of vegetables. We still have a food bank garden that feeds families in need in the area, run by benevolent volunteers in the area. And we have 32 acres here, and it's a little bit of work. We love it, but we produce, well, as that little clip said, 25,000 pounds of produce a year. This has been a great year. We're going to get like 27, maybe even 28,000 pounds this year. So I could either thank Mother Nature or just say that I got my act together and we're really smart and we know what we're doing. But no, it's been a good year. It's been a good year. So most of us are probably watching this because we want to know about our fall and winter gardens, vegetable gardens, I should say. And we're probably still dangling on to some of our spring favorites. We, of course, grow lots of tomatoes here, but they're looking pretty crappy. And we grow cucumbers here, and we're all done with them this week. And we grow zucchinis here, gold and green, and they're done this week also. We're in November here, and this is normal. Usually we last a couple more weeks. I try to get to Thanksgiving with all this stuff, but I don't know. Things have petered out, but it's all right. The whole garden's now fall and winter vegetable, and the Oriental eggplant or Asian eggplant. I don't know which one's politically correct to say, but it's long skinny eggplant, very beautiful. And if you've never grown these, man, this is like the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, they're extremely productive, as almost like tomatoes. So, but we'll get rid of that because we don't want to talk about these anymore. And we're here to talk about your fall and winter gardens. So if you do have a garden, your tomatoes are probably looking really crummy right now. They've probably got like 5 different diseases on them. They've been through the warm part of the year, and you've probably got 5 or 6 flowers left on the tops, and you got still excited because you can set that. And somewhere in February, you're going to get a little ugly piece of tomato like this. So think about moving on and doing other things. If you have squash in your garden, I mean, powdery mildew, it's probably looked horrible for a couple months, and that's normal. And if you have cucumbers, you probably got downy mildew, and they're wondering why they're not producing. Well, the days are a lot shorter now, and we are no longer warm season. We are now cool season. So, but a lot of people don't get involved with your fall and winter vegetables. Usually they're either burnt out from gardening all summer when it's hot and warm, and the garden is starting to get a little weedy because we got a rain or two, and you're just pretty much done and think, oh, I don't have to worry about it till I plant my tomatoes in March next year. Well, you're missing the boat. I was a commercial grower in Baja for over 20 years. And we used to grow things like tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and squash, thousands of acres. And hopefully at the times of year, you couldn't grow them at home so we could make money. But I'd never grown a broccoli or a cauliflower down there. I learned that here. And it is a perfect complement. I mean, I have 5 little gardens here. And we have a cumulative total of 40, 50-foot rows. So if you can imagine 40, 50-foot rows, not that much. I mean, for a single, other than me, for a single person to do that in their backyard, that's a lot of work. But to get 27,000 pounds out of that, that's pretty amazing, I think. And it's because we're constantly planting, we're constantly pulling. This week I pulled out 2 rows of eggplant, 2 rows of tomatoes, and tomorrow they will be broccoli and cauliflower all over again. And we'll do this a few more times. So somewhere down the line, I gave Karen this little Bible I have here. It's a list. Any of you ever come to any of my classes, you've probably got a copy of this. And unfortunately, I've made so many copies of it, it's almost illegible. But she promises that you will have access to this list. But all it is, and it's similar to the Master Gardeners list on the Master Gardeners website of warm season crops, cold season crops, but this is done monthly. And as you go down the months, we'll just jump to November because that's where we are right now. Or actually, we're probably starting to think December. And but starting in September is when the fall favorites start to come in, meaning you could start planting transplants in September. I actually start in August. And now we're in Poway, and it's like I'm doing things that you probably wouldn't want to do at home, but we use black shade cloth because it's just too dang hot. You know, a broccoli and cauliflower can handle 85, but 105, which we can occasionally get out here, is a little tough. But we use a black shade cloth, like a 30% shade cloth. It takes out a lot of sting, and it gets me going. It gets me started sooner. And if I can just spread my harvest seasons out a couple more months, it's easier for the kitchen. It's easier. It's just more enjoyable. But if you look on this list, and I won't say all the words on here again, you will have a list of that, but we're going to touch on some of the big boys. We grow a lot of broccoli and cauliflower and lettuce for the next 7 months. And in actuality, in about 3 weeks, I'm going to start seeding my tomatoes again. And we start our tomatoes. According to tomatoes, you don't do those till March. Well, I plant my tomatoes in January and hope I don't get a frost. I sweat bullets like 2 weeks out of the year, but that's fun for me. I'm weird. But yeah, right now I have one more out of my 40 rows. I have one more row of zucchini, and that's going to be gone in a week or two. And now all 40 of my rows have broccoli, cauliflower, and other members of the brassica family. So the brassica family, or otherwise known as cruciferous vegetables, or your cole crops, that's what we can do from September through March, okay? And we do this on a weekly basis. If I got 40 rows, I'll do 3 rows a week. Every week we'll plant broccoli, cauliflower, and in between my broccoli and cauliflower, I plant lettuce. My lettuce, I treat as a second-class citizen. It never gets its own row. It never gets its own love. It gets planted with my other stuff, and I'll explain a little bit later why that works out so well. And it just saves money. And the brassicas and the cruciferous, again, cruciferous vegetables comes from the Latin word crus. And if any of you have been unsuccessful growing a broccoli and wondered why it was only this big and not this big.
That's as big as your head.
Yeah. You probably did something wrong, and we'll go over that, but you just sat there and watched it, and one day you went out there and it flowered. These are all members of the mustard family, or the cabbage family, they call it. So mustard, if you ever seen a mustard flower, it's a little yellow cross, and that's the word cruciferous vegetable. So if you let your broccoli go too long, like I would have let this go 2 more weeks, this would all be a beautiful yellow, full of flowers. You can still eat it, but it's not broccoli as we know it. So let's get, so to start with, we're in our lovely greenhouse here, and all the residents in our hort therapy program and some local volunteer kids with issues help out here. And this Sunday, today is Monday, yesterday I seeded this 128 cavity tray with broccoli. Actually, I did 2 broccolis and a cauliflower. I plant twice as much broccoli as I do cauliflower because broccoli just doesn't weigh as much as cauliflower. And we seem to like cauliflower more. But you can see it's beautiful. And in a few days, things will start popping up. And in 1 week, they will look like this one right here. Like that. So that's like 1 week. Isn't that beautiful? I get all excited about that. Maybe only us people.
And it looks really good on camera.
You like that? Yeah. Anyway, so that's 1 week of growth. And then this was grown a week prior to that. So this is like 2 weeks. And 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Wow.
And then this would be after 4 weeks, we pull them out of these trays like that. See that beautiful plant? Can you see that? No, black's not the way to go. So we pull them out of there, and then in our hort therapy programs, we get these little jiffy peat pots. These are 2.25 inch peat pots, and with just potting soil, and they crank them out. They just crank them out for me, and then I will hold those for 2 more weeks until I get these, and these are ready for the garden. So we'll plant those. So we just keep this process going. And this is the epitome of the concept successive planting, right? You don't have to do all of your tomatoes in March. It's nice to have tomatoes in November and December. You can plant tomatoes in June. In the scheme of things that I mentioned, every week we're planting broccoli and cauliflower. So that's our successive way of doing it. Every week we're planting more from mid-August. I recommend September 1st, mid-August through March. And we might even tinker around with some of April, and we get the black shade cloth out again if necessary. But we just continue in this fashion. You don't have to fill all your garden at once. If you like 2 heads of broccoli a week, plant 3 heads of broccoli a week, but every week, and then you'll have it. Lettuce, we all eat lettuce, right? This is our lettuce, romaine. We plant 108 heads of lettuce every week. And that gives our residents here at Cadence plenty of lettuce for the whole week. And I do this 10 months out of the year. There's 2 months out of the year I don't even fool around with anymore. It's just too dang hot. You folks on the coast, you could do this stuff almost all year long, regardless of what this says, So just remember 85 degrees, any higher than that, not really happy, but you will get a crop. You just have to trick it a little bit. So when doing, and I recommend doing your own seeding, but generally people like right now, some of you are going, oh man, I never thought about planting a fall winter garden. And you go out and you're looking out the window right now and it's a mess. It's full of weeds and dead tomato plants. And it's going to take you a while to get together and get your act together and get it going. And then you will go to your local nursery and buy plants, which is fine, but that's cost prohibitive to me. We'll do 6,000 broccoli and cauliflower probably in a year, planting at that rate. And so I like seeding our own, or doing all our starts from seed. That way I can control the plant itself, not buying plants that maybe are in some soil that probably marginal quality and has something you probably don't want in your garden, or overgrown, or like 3 to a cell. You get all excited, you go, hey, I got 3 plants out of that one, and there's no way you're going to throw 2 away. It's just better to control. And then the varieties that are out there. So luckily we'll talk, but the most important to do your seeding is getting, no, I know some of you are already like,
They're apoplectic about that.
yeah. Don't look at the word that says Miracle Grow. I don't use this, but I wanted to show you that the important words here are seed starting mix. All right. You need seed starting mix. You don't just go grab some compost out of your backyard or dig a hole and grab some dirt. And you could do all this stuff in 6 packs very easily, but EB Stone makes a seed starting mix. My favorite is one called Sungrow #3. I get at Grand Jettos. There's a little science in the soil itself. It's got dolomite lime. It's got Canadian sphagnum moss, which we all know that Canadian sphagnum moss is better than American sphagnum moss. But it's got no fertilizer. There's no very little, actually negligible in the fertilizer. These seeds don't need fertilizer. All right, they got enough little food in their little endoplasm to get the whole thing going. They don't need fertilizer. But you can go, yeah, just make sure it's a seed starting mix, especially for things that you can just grab potting soil and do it, is like all your cucurbits, zucchinis, cantaloupes, watermelons. I mean, those will pop up in anything. So, but we still utilize Sungrow #3 or Sunshine #3. And I get that in Grangetto. So there's been difficulties getting a lot of things right now. And it's not that there's more people gardening due to the pandemic, but I don't know, people don't like to work, or people don't drive trucks anymore. I don't understand. But they're around. You just got to look. So we'll start with broccoli. All right. Broccoli, we have a kids intergenerational program here, and kids love broccoli. And I don't think I would have ever said that as a child, but our kids just love broccoli, and that's fantastic. So again, if you can grow broccoli and cauliflower from September, from seedlings like this, September 1st, you're going in through March. We start with a very popular variety that you can find at most nurseries, and that is Pac-Man broccoli. This is Pac-Man here. It's kind of flat-headed. It's kind of got an open bud thing to it, where, like, if you're not careful, this can explode overnight and flower, and you don't want that. But this is just in the nick of time. And the greatest thing about Pac-Man is it's very quick. To me, in the world of organics, getting in and out fast is.
أولادنا.
Huh?
Please mute yourselves. Thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, when you buy seed packs, it says days to harvest, which is kind of misleading. I mean, that's like in vitro in a perfect conditions but they say that Pac-Man is a 57-day variety. That's pretty awesome. And so actually 57 days from August 15th, we harvested our first broccoli. So that came true. So because the weather's relatively normal. You do that in November, November and December and parts of January, a 57-day variety will take an extra month because you're in the coldest time of the year. So be leery of the days to harvest, but I can guarantee you one that says it's 57 days is faster than a 65-day one or an 80-day one. You want to stay away from anything over that because the aphids will find it. So again, getting in and out quick is important. In a perfect world, in our September 1st planting of broccoli and cauliflower, it would take 2 months, which is September and October. Then we're eating broccoli in the first part of November. And then we pull that row and then we plant another row of broccoli or cauliflower. That'll take 3 months, November, December, January. And guess what? Tomato time. So things turn over here at that pace. But Pac-Man broccoli is awesome for like I plant that in the garden as transplants all of September and most of October. Then we switch to a variety called Marathon. Marathon's a little slower. If they say Pac-Man's 57, the Marathon is like a 65-day variety. It takes a little bit more, but it is a firmer head. It's like a little bowling ball. It's like a very beautiful, firm, dense head, where this is kind of a little bit loosey-goosey, but still delicious. And then we'll do Marathon through the cold time of the year that likes cool weather. Pac-Man can handle the heat. So somewhere around January, we'll switch back to Pac-Man and do all the rest of our plantings through March with Pac-Man as far as broccoli. Broccoli's been around since the 5th century, man. And it's delicious, nutritious, high in vitamin K. And it's a big part of our program for the next 5-6 more months. The next on the list, again, these are all members of the brassica family I'm talking about. I'm talking kale, bok choy, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kohlrabi, rutabagas, turnips, collards, mustard greens, all the Brussels sprouts. These are all members of the brassica family. And what's amazing, we show this in our children's garden here. You eat everything. I mean, there are brassicas where you eat the roots, such as turnips and rutabagas, right? There are brassicas where you eat the stem, such as your kohlrabi. If you've never seen kohlrabi, it's like a broccoli plant that's got this huge goiter in the stem, and it is the originator, the predecessor, and the origin. It's where coleslaw got its terms. Cole, you know, these are all cole crops. Brassicas are cole crops, meaning like broccoli, cauliflower, kohlrabi, and there's more. And kale. Coil. Anyway, but so yeah, you got the kohlrabi where you're eating the stem. You have things like mustard greens, collard greens, cabbage where you're eating leaves. And then you have broccoli and cauliflower where you're actually eating the inflorescences, meristem, i.e. flower of the plant. So cauliflower would be the next big one. I love cauliflower. To me, cauliflower is like almost like meat. You know, it's heavy, it's dense. You eat it and you know you've eaten it. You know, you could make steaks out of it. You got the people that rice it. You got make pasta out of it. You make pizza dough out of it. But just, I mean, look at that. That's beautiful, isn't it?
It is beautiful.
That's that was the first cauliflower I harvested. I could have harvested this last week, but I just wanted to grow a little bit more. So again, this was planted mid-August. Where August, when was this planted? I have the date. This was planted August 15th. So August, September, October. This is two and 2 weeks kind of. So, and they say it's a 65-day variety. It's a little bit more. But this is one called Candied Charm. And you cannot, you have to, you'll never find that in the stores or the nurseries. If you want, and you should, buy seeds, there's Johnny Selected Seeds, which I get many of my varieties, and I'll tell you which ones. That Pac-Man you can get from a company called Jung, Jung. But again, you can find that in 6-packs if you don't want to do your own seeding. Marathon you have to get from Johnny's. The Candied Charm cauliflower I just showed you, that's from Territorial Seed Company. Territorial. And then there's this one seed company called Kitazawa, which is all Asian stuff. I mean, I don't know what any of these things are except for bok choy and kohlrabi and a couple others. Cucumbers, I know what a cucumber is, but they're just all types of Asian cold crops. So Candied Charm, again, about 65 days, big and heavy, man. We get lots of pounds out of this. We supply plants not only to our food bank gardens here, but to a lot of schools in the area. And we had an 11-pound head one time at Braxis High School down the street. And that blew my mind. But we also grow other types of cauliflower. The kids, the ones that are in our program, been around for a while, white cauliflower is fine with them. But at the beginning, they're not, give me the broccoli, I'll stay away from that. But there are other types of cauliflower you can grow. This is a beautiful orange one called cheddar that you've probably seen. And you can find these plants in your local nursery. And cheddar has 25 times the beta carotene than your white. So it's good for your eyes, for us old people. And it's very tasty. It's nuttier in flavor. And then we grow another one called Vita Verde. Unfortunately, I don't have any to show you. You come back in a week or two, I'll have coming out my ears. But Vita Verde from Johnny's also is a green cauliflower, a green cauliflower. It's not a broccoli, it's like this, but green. Delicious. And then the other two really off the wall ones of cauliflowers are the purple ones, the physical, not physical graffiti, that's a Led Zeppelin album. Graffiti is a purple cauliflower, and it has the potential of actually being the largest one of all of these. But it also takes the most time. If they tout this as a 65-day variety, they tout that one as like 85 days, maybe 90. So, but I won my first flower show with a purple cauliflower. I mean, I took the whole show, beat out like 400 rosarians with a purple cauliflower. And every year I enter a flower show, now it's like broccoli and cauliflower. I win blue ribbons. And I'm not saying it's because I'm so great. It just shows you that people don't, I mean, okay, I can grow tomato. I do tomatoes, but you got to try this stuff because it's just not popular enough. You should all grow this. So those are, so the purple graffiti, awesome. And that's got a little radishy spiciness to it. It's very delicious. If you ever watch any of those cooking shows, it's always on there. And then the other one on the cooking shows is the Veronica Romanesca. It is a green, it's nature's perfect form of fractal geometry. The Fibonacci thing, you know, spirals. It's a spiral that forms a spiral that forms a spiral, and it turns out to be this little turban like this. Just thousands of little spirals, and delicious, but that's also is about 85 days. So we grow that limited, mostly for the kids. Again, I like to get in and out. I like to get it before the aphids find it. So the other big boys that we grow in the brassica family, this is your Tuscan kale, otherwise known as lacinato kale, or black palm kale, or dinosaur kale, they call it. And black palm kale is probably makes the most sense because these grow into beautiful little palm trees as you take the lower leaves off. So this was the first pick I took off this plant today. We have like a dozen or so in the kids' garden. And this was planted when the 2nd of October. So this is a month old, and I'm already getting food off it. So kale's, and you know, it is the nutritional powerhouse of all vegetables, they say. So this is a stunning plant, and it's not only edible, but you can, it's that concept of edible landscaping. You know, not only are you gonna eat it, but it looks pretty darn good. That's good. I mean, you know, you're doing a good job in your garden when you're growing stuff like this in your front yard, your back.
When we come back here, at the moment, that school bus.
Hey, everybody, mute yourselves, please.
Top video story that
Mute.
So Tuscan kale, awesome. It'll grow, you know, this tall, all right? Easily. I've even seen it taller, and it can overwinter and last for a year, but I usually get it out by the end of spring. The other one that I really find awesome, I mean, I'm half Sicilian, so I'm supposed to love this. Tuscan kale. But it's red Russian kale. It doesn't look red right now, but you can see little tint of purple. As things start to pop and get sunnier, it's got a red tint to it. You can put these in containers. You don't need to grow them, you know, in the ground like I do in such a low.
was that. But to fix it, I can do more. Dog bark?
Hey, everybody. I'm hearing some.
Yeah, it's Barbara French Lee.
Can we? Thank you.
Very good. So kale, absolutely fantastic, very nutritious, same family, same, it's all good. And then also I picked this morning, and this was planted at the same time as our kales. And this is Swiss chard. I mean, the heaters are going on in here, so it's starting to look a little droopy, but actually this was pretty terse a little while ago. But this is a rainbow Swiss chard, otherwise known as bright light Swiss chard, because you have red ones, and green ones, and white ones, and gold ones, and magenta ones. And this is just another one that keeps giving. Our heater just kicked in. I hope you can hear me. If you can't hear me, let me know and I will scream louder. Okay, so start your stuff from seed. Kohlrabi, any of the brassicas, very awesome. Okay, so the problem, the most important thing, except for the varietal selection, is soil preparation. All right. So when like yesterday, I pulled out a row of eggplant, get the plants out of we grow linearly. We grow everything on drip tape. Just you mix water every 8 inches. If you want to come on out, I'll show you how to hook it up into your garden. It's the most economical and the best for plants. But we add 4 things to all of our beds prior to planting the next crop. And one is worm castings. Another is composted chicken manure. Another one is regular old compost. You're probably doing it at home. And then the 4th is some type of pre-plant fertilizer. And we're all gardeners, right? We all know what the 3 numbers on the bag means: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. You want to start with one that's balanced. And it's like, disregard all the words on the bags and boxes of your fertilizer. You want to look for a balanced one, something that says like a 4-4-4 or a 5-5-5. If it says 16-16-16, you're not organic and you don't want to do that. But you'd probably grow a hell of a crop and the heads would probably be this big, but that's conventional fertilizer. So we throw that out. I can give you what we do in a 50-foot row. It really wouldn't mean nothing to you, but all these things that we're growing in the fall and winter, they like moist soil. They like really are nice, organic, nutrient-rich soil. So you've got to add that pre-plant fertilizer. The one I like the best is one called Bioflora 665. I get it at Grangetto's. 665, bigger numbers than 444. So it's really good. It's what the commercial guys use. You buy a bag for like 35 bucks, 50-pound bag. You will use it. And if you have a nice, healthy start by preparing your soil properly, you're good through almost the whole crop of these things. It's not like tomatoes where like somewhere down the line, you got to keep feeding it. And every 2 weeks, you got to keep feeding it. Not with these. We're getting in and out quick, right? So we'll prepare the soil. We'll plant. Again, that same day, I'll hide lettuce in there. If I got a row that's got 100 broccoli plants in there, I'll put 50 lettuces in there, in between, staggering here, there, and everywhere. And somewhere around, like, this was planted at the same time this stuff was, October 2nd, okay? So here's my lettuce a month later. So tomorrow, I'm going to pull out all the lettuce out of these, and that will supply enough lettuce for all of us here. Beautiful romaine. It's not that adult, big, bold thing that you usually find in the store. It's teenage romaine, I call it. Not baby romaine, it's teenage. And it's sweeter, it's juicier, it just fits my system the best. So we'll take all the lettuce out of that row. Let's say it's a row of broccoli after about a month. We will weed it. Yes, we do have weeds. We get rid of the weeds. And then we look at the plant. We look at that broccoli plant, or we look at that cauliflower plant, and we wait to start to see something happening, like in the middle. Not actually a little thing with buds on it, but where like the leaves are starting to come like this, and you know, oh my God, I'm going to actually get something here before the rats do. And then we hit that thing with high nitrogen. Okay, so fish emulsion's a 5-1-1. It's liquid. Mix it up, whatever it says on the rate, quadruple it, and because you want to give that thing a quick kick and kick in the pants and really get that plant to explode, because you got one shot if you're growing a head of cabbage. You got one shot if you're growing a head of cauliflower. I mean, you're only going to get one off that plant, right? So you want the biggest one. If you're looking for other varieties and don't believe and want to try other varieties, I'm not mentioning, go for it. But stay away from words like mid-sized head and kind of hard to grow. You know, we want big heads, right? You got one head coming out of that plant, you want it to be the biggest as you can possibly have. So like, again, about a month, about halfway through the growing season of that broccoli, I'm pulling the lettuce out, and then we will weed it. And we'll hit it with something high in nitrogen. And then we'll go back to that whole idea in a second, because you're all wondering about the pests. So what other good things do we grow? Cabbages. We grow a lot of cabbage in our food bank gardens. And at Johnny's, there's a variety called Tender Sweet. It's called a flat wrapper. There's a joke that goes with that, and I'll keep it to myself. But it's a beautiful head, but it's kind of flat, and it's a great cabbage. It's like a 65-day variety. Most of everything except the Pac-Man I'm talking about is like a 65-day variety, and that is awesome. But there are other great cabbages, such as Napa cabbage, where you can get seeds from Johnny's and wherever, and bok choy. Bok choy around here. Hey, hold on, I'll be right back.
He's coming back.
I'm
I
coming back.
promise.
So this is bok choy. This probably should have been planted in somebody's garden a week ago, but bok choy is fantastic. It is a cabbage. It's a Chinese cabbage, and it's fast. In like 50 days, you can get a big old thing of bok choy. Granted, it's like 99% water, but in your stir fries, it's still awesome. But that is a great thing to try in your garden, because it's quick. You know, again, quick is good. Earliness is good. Low days to harvest is a good thing, because you're competing with all the critters and everything, and you want to win the battle. On that same note, Brussels sprouts. We all love Brussels sprouts, right? Brussels sprouts take like 110 to 120 days. So any of you who've grown Brussels sprouts, I'm sure you know what an aphid is, okay? Because they will find it after 4 months in the garden. They will find it. You know, these are coming out in 65 days. You got 120 days. You're doubling the chances that an aphid will find it. Still good. A little extra protein in there, but we'll talk about ways to correct that. Anyway, all these things we plant about 18 inches apart in the gardens. Again, we got a drip tape that goes down my little beds that are about this wide. This tape goes right down the middle, and we'll plant 18 inches, a couple inches from the tape on one side, and then we'll come on the other side and put one in the middle. So if I got a plant here and a plant here, somewhere around here, I'll have another plant. So 50-foot row, I can get 67 plants, do the math. And so that's what we do here with broccoli and cauliflower. Flowers, stems, okay, good. So pest control. How are we doing on time? We good? Yeah, we're doing good.
7.
Huh?
We're doing good.
We're doing, okay, pests. Again, most of these things are coming in and out really quick out of your garden. It's not like a tomato that'll be in their garden 7 to 10 months, right? So, but the biggest culprit are rodents. Now, we all have beautiful children, they're smartest in the world, and we have beautiful homes and we don't have rats. That's a big lie. They're everywhere. Rats and mice, gophers, voles, they're everywhere. Luckily, all of our gardens we have 4-foot hardware cloth all the way around it. So that keeps the rabbits out. I mean, if rabbits going to get into your garden, you will not have a garden because they eat everything. And you know what I'm talking about if you have rabbits. The rabbits, rodents, they will, I mean, they love this, you know. I mean, this is just like, oh, nice and tender, they're beautiful. They'll go right at it. Rats and mice, we use the old Victor traps, you know, wooden peanut butter. You just got to be smarter and more tenacious than they are. More tenacious is probably the right word. I'm assuming we're all smarter than a rat. But you can't just set it and come back 3 weeks later and say that you've done everything you could. No, you got to check your traps all the time. Gophers, another problem. But, you know, we have a couple gophers here and there. I know some people have a lot of acreages where there's like hillsides full of holes and you know they're going to find their way down to your garden. But the old Maccabee traps, you can get them at any of your nursery supply places. Maccabee, they're green, they're spring, they'll impale them. My biggest tip for using a Maccabee trap is please check the YouTube video because you will impale yourself the first time you do it regardless. And but they're very effective. You got to dig the hole, you got to get down there deep. Make sure you tie a string with a stick because the gopher, if you don't kill it, it'll take it back down the hole. Now, I know I'm probably like bugging a whole bunch of you PETA people out there, but gophers aren't a friend of mine. So we don't use poisons, okay? There's other traps. Squirrels are a problem. There's humane, they call them humane traps, where you can catch the squirrel, you can get a squirrelinator and a ratinator and a gophinator, and they're humane because you catch them live and then you drown them, which doesn't sound very humane to me. I have another way of doing it. But anyway, rodents are your biggest issue. You got to get that curved or you're not going to have a garden anytime, but they love this stuff. And then plus they're looking for warmer things right now. They're scooting around. They're kind of getting ready to hunker down, and they would like nothing better to eat. They would like nothing better to come in here and destroy my greenhouse. I can tell you that right now. So after planting like a row of broccoli or cauliflower, again, you need all those 4 things: preparing your soil, make sure it's nice and rich. We apply Sluggo Plus. There is Sluggo Plus, Sluggo Max, Sluggo. There's like 5 different types of Sluggos. Sluggo Plus is organic, all right? It's deemed groovy by the OMRI, the Organic Materials Research Institute. And we just sprinkle a little bit that down the road. That's good for snails, slugs, roly-polies, but it's also very good for cutworms. And cutworms are a little nocturnal Lepidoptera insect. It has a caterpillar stage. They live in the ground. At night, they come out, and they will come and they will find a beautiful plant like this, and they will climb up about this high, and then you'll eat it right here. They're little lumberjacks, and this thing will break, and you'll go down. The first time I grew this stuff, I was out there and I open up, I go take a look at the row, and like half of them are gone, and they all look like somebody took a knife and cut everyone right there, like a little lumberjack. And so I tried things like cornmeal with Bacillus thuringiensis, you know, the chemical, organic chemical for controlling Lepidoptera insects like your tomato hornworm and things like that. But that was a pain in the butt. Again, I'm doing like, you know, 300 plants a week, you know, well, I tried cutting 2-inch pieces off toilet paper rolls and making a physical barrier and putting them over there. That's really time consuming. I found out that sprinkling a 50-foot row in 10 seconds with Sluggo is a lot easier. You might want to be careful of pets. I mean, I got pets in my gardens and none of them ever gotten sick with it, but that might be a concern, so you have to think twice. But then the final insect that's really going to make your life miserable at times are aphids, and I'm sure it's the same in Del Mar as it is in Poway. Aphids are here; they're always around. Powdery mildew's here; it's always around. And so at that point where I mentioned where I take the lettuce out, I weed the row, give it a high shot of nitrogen to really kickstart it. We take a hose with a nozzle and go, if necessary, I mean, of course, we scout the fields, but just blow that thing with high pressure water. Water is the best tool against aphids, I think. And we get it in there, so we fertilize and we put that little nozzle right in the middle of where that thing's going, and we're hitting it hard. Aphids are fat and lazy. They require ants to move them around. And if you knock them down, they're not coming back up. So you knock them down, and then you could also follow it up with insecticidal soaps. And insecticidal soaps, you can get at any of your distributors, your Grangettos, Walter Andersons, Armstrongs, whatever, Home Depot. And it's just potassium salts, fatty something. Anyway, it's soap, and it's a contact. It will help you. All right. So, but getting in and out's the best way. And then the other bug that can, you know, you can get a little unglued with cabbage loopers. That's another Lepidoptera, those little beautiful white little butterflies. They're butterflies. And but you know, they'll put holes in the leaves, but they're not gonna do anything to a head of cauliflower. You know, they're gonna fool with that. So that's about all the diseases you got to worry about. I mean, in other parts of the world, in Europe, there's like black crown rot and stuff like that. I've never even heard of that. I've never seen it. All I know is, you know, nematodes. I know everybody's freaking out with nematodes in their gardens because you grow tomatoes, right? And that's your biggest fear is nematodes, a microscopic wireworm that will destroy your plants and give you no fruit and make it always look like it's thirsty. And supposedly nematodes affect 2,000 agricultural crops. I've never had a problem with nematodes on broccoli, cauliflower, kale, cabbage, any of these things, because you're in the cool time of the year and you're getting in and out quick, right? Save your problems, those problems for your squash and your summer stuff, that 7 months in the soil when it's 99 degrees in Poway for 2 months straight, you know, so that's good. What else do we need to do?
I can go to some questions.
We can do that.
Okay. I'm going to figure this out.
Uh-oh.
Here we go. All right. So Donna.
Yeah, we only have really 2 questions. One was about keeping, one gardener put, I guess it was also bromeliads. Well, and she put her cabbage in large pots above ground, and something, supposedly a raccoon, ate them. So what are you going to do about that?
Raccoon, I don't consider a raccoon a rodent, but it is a critter in the gardens, and raccoons and possums and skunks, and I guess we all deserve to eat, but You know, there are have-a-heart traps that we use for voles and rabbits and things like that. You have a heart that you catch them and some humane way you can get rid of it. And, but they have those the size for raccoons too. My luck, I would catch a skunk in it. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
You take it to the garbage can. I'm not taking it. Anyway.
Okay,
Yeah,
you answered the aphid questions, but were you going to say something? Because actually I had a question, I forgot.
go for it. Unless you-
Okay, I didn't understand what you're doing with the black shade cloth. Are you shading your greenhouse or what?
So, right now, everything I'm planting right now, since it's cool, even though it's gonna be like 85 this weekend, we cover with white floating row cover. I got this from Johnny's. It's called AG19 Agribond, and it's the thinnest material you could find. I mean, you can find this stuff at your local nurseries and whatnot. It's extremely expensive. You can buy little 12 by 12 inch pieces, you know, or 12 inch pieces. This is a roll that's 73 inches by 250 feet. It's like 35 bucks. You know, so we open this up, we get what we call 12 gauge hanger wires. Just Google 12 gauge, 6 foot, 12 gauge hanger wires. You'll get a bundle of these 12 gauge wires that bend very easily. So we go down our row every 6 feet and we put these little hoops right into the beds. And we cover it up with this. And we put these little staples in the side to cover that whole row. You go to my gardens right now, the only broccoli and cauliflower you're going to see are the ones that I've already taken the lettuce out and I've already fertilized, and I'm probably 3 weeks from harvest. But I've gotten that much protection with this. This makes little greenhouses all the way in my garden. Every row is like a little greenhouse because this traps heat in there. Again, I'm trying to get things out of moving out quickly. But the best benefit of this, aphids can't get to it. So if I have something like broccoli that's 90 days in the ground, I could hold this on it for 60 days. That's 60 days that aphid's not going to find that plant. And so if it wants to come the last 30, hey, we'll fight for that head of broccoli. But I've got a good jump on it. So that's when it's cold. All right, that's when it's cold. But when I'm doing things like planting these full crops in mid-August, when it's really hot, I use black shade cloth. Black shade cloth, it's a material, and you can get it in all different formulations. Just Google black shade cloth. Find a dimension that works best for you. You can get 30% shade cloth, which means it'll take out 70% of, I think that's right. Take out 75% of the shading, right? So you created, black is for cooling, white is for heating. It's contrary to what your head would tell you, but you're shading that whole row. So the plant's not all freaked out when it's like 100 degrees, you know, it's much cooler in there, and even better yet, it's less light intensity that really stresses those plants out. Anything, again, that stresses these plants out results in small heads. Insects or fertilizer or water. But the black shade cloth, without using, if I didn't use black shade cloth, I would have to wait till September to start. If you live on the coast, forget about it. You don't need it. You can plant 1st of August if you want it, and go through June probably, you know, because the temperature's more moderate. It's just a little hotter out here, and it's a little colder. You get the extremes. So when winter comes around and it's really cold, even though a freeze will have almost no effect on your brassicas. almost no effect at all. We'll do a job on your tomatoes and squash. But these things, these things taste so much better when it's cold. And the flavor of these coming out of your garden compared to Mr. Ralph's and Mr. Albertson's, it's incredible. Because you harvest, you eat it that day, and it's just sweeter and it's better. We didn't talk about a few other things, but you'll get a list there sometime. But carrots and all those things, sweet peas, sugar snap peas are easy to grow. Those are all really good. But big boys we talked about today were the brassica family. They're good food.
Okay, we had several questions now. Is there a physical barrier one could use to keep rats and mice out?
Yeah, I've seen at some of our school gardens, some people have gotten very creative and use like hardware cloth as a cage.
Oh,
Like right
yeah.
that area. You can get like little PVC pipe, bend it over, two of those, put some type of wire mesh to put over that. Don't get chicken wire. I mean, the gopher, they all fit for that. The rat fits for that very easily. That's one way. And I've even seen some of the schools get like little black trash bins, like waste paper baskets that you keep by your desk, little black ones that are porous. And they've covered plants with those too. And I've seen those work. But yes, there are physical barriers. The best way would be some type of caging so they don't get in. Best way to do is cage your whole garden and then brush it.
Here's a question about, do you do anything to make the soil more acidic for some of the vegetables that prefer a more acid soil?
No, I do not. That's a very good idea, though. I mean, no
for it.
matter what vegetable, the optimum pH is like 6.5 for almost everything, right? I don't know anybody that's got soil like that. Yes, you really work at it. And to work at it, you're mixing pine needles and composting all the time and using
Canadian sphagnum.
the little sphagnum stuff. But don't worry about it with us. We have crummy San Diego water, 7.58, whatever it is on the pH scale, full of salts and bicarbonates, and it all works really good. Again,
Someone else was asking about your pre-plant fertilization and fish emulsion.
yeah.
Oh, the person asked, do you only use the fish emulsion once you pull out one crop and put in another?
So in the life of a broccoli plant, you will prepare the soil possibly, all right? And you will incorporate worm castings in, or if you worm castings, compost, chicken manure, compost and pre-plant fertilizer, hopefully a balanced one, like a 444 or a 665. And that will take you almost through the whole crop. Again, when you see that broccoli head or something starting to form, you just give it something high in nitrogen. And the easiest thing for most people is just like fish emulsion. It's like 511. It's liquid. You mix it with water. You pour it right on the plant. You're looking for aphids. You see an aphid. You blow it off with the water. You work the fertilizer a little bit more into the ground. And that's all these really need. But again, things like kale and the Swiss chard, these are going to be in the ground much longer than a broccoli and cauliflower. I mean, I've started harvesting this today, and I will still be harvesting this in the spring, till the aphids are just out of control. But but every couple of weeks, I mean, fish, it's high in nitrogen, right? And what's nitrogen good for? Green leaves. You don't want flowers on your kale. You just want leaves. Your mustard greens and your collard greens,
Right.
You just want leaves. Lettuce, if you're growing lettuce, you just want leaves. You don't want anything else. So maybe every couple of weeks, you just give it a little shot of nitrogen. And again, the fish emulsion is probably the easiest route. I mean, I think back guano and stuff like that, but that's granular. It takes a little time to work into the soil. I think for the average person, that works the best, fish emulsion. Anytime you need.
Here's a question about growing, what's best for growing in pots? It's
All of these
regarding
things-
for the size and the depth of the pot, I guess.
Yeah, so, like, can you see this pot right here? Right here,
Mhm.
probably 12 by 16 or something high. Any of these grow really well. I mean, a kale, that red Russian kale in a pot looks stunning. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, you got your ornamental kale too. I don't know anybody that eats those, but if you put a black palm kale in there, it'd look beautiful. You could put broccoli, cauliflower. You can do all of these things in containers very easily, very easily. I mean, that's what most people go, I don't have a garden because I don't have a garden, you know, I don't have dirt. I live in a condo. Hey, buy a bunch of pots, put them out there and hope you got, I mean, you need sun, you need a water source, but yeah, all of this stuff grows very well. I mean, you can put carrots in a pot, you can put radishes in a pot. All these are cool season crops and they all grow very well.
Any more questions there, Donna?
Well, we had a couple of comments. One person said, you can see the hardware cloth cages at the community garden at Rancho Penasquito Ranch House on Black Mountain Road.
Exactly. So, yeah, and if you go on their website, I think they have pictures. I was there when they started making those, and those are pretty dang elaborate, man. I mean, they're like little houses with cages, doors that open up. Works really good, you know, and you might be able to just get by with some hoops and covering it with stuff like this, you know, for a while. But yeah, a lot of our school gardens in the area have now adopted a type of cage to put on top, maybe just resting on top or like a little roof. But yeah, if you got problems with rodents, we won't say rats, right? None of us have rats. If you have problems with rodents, they will find these things. Our biggest problem is one called a vole. It's kind of like a stupid, ugly looking gopher. It's like a cross between a rat and a gopher. But man, they'll either take the plant out when it's this big or wait till it's just got something going, and they'll go through and they'll eat the middle out of each one all the way down the row.
Oh,
This is so sad.
Sad. Yeah.
someone's recommending the Portuguese.
The other day, and I'm gonna do like I can give up a half a row. They gotta eat too, I guess.
Yeah. Somebody said what now?
Someone recommended the Portuguese kale from Renee's Garden Seeds. They're amazingly large plants similar to chard.
Very good. Yeah, there's all kinds of kale. I mean, there's the curly kales. I mean, get any of these catalogs. I mean, there's other. I'm just extremely partial to the red Russian and the Tuscan. But yeah, there's the walking cane one that's 15 feet tall. And yeah, kale, good for you, man. I mean, I don't drink smoothies, but people a lot more healthy than I am love that stuff. And you go out and you put a couple of these plants in there, you pick enough for your smoothie every day. Every day you can do this.
Any more questions?
I don't see any more. I'm glad this is going to be recorded and left online on YouTube,
Yeah.
so we can watch it over again.
This is going to be left online once it is uploaded. And the planting guide that he mentioned is being redone so that there is a
You
hard
can read
copy.
it.
Yeah, so that it can be read, but also it's going to be in the newsletter so that it can be accessed. It will, there'll be a PDF link to it in the YouTube description box so that it should be available pretty widely pretty soon.
Is my contact information out for these people to have somehow?
Yes,
like my business card or something?
yes. So
You're all welcome to come visit me. All right, you just,
you
somehow-
can stalk him.
yeah, no, or send me an email. I mean, I love, come on out. It's seeing, it makes a lot more sense than me bloviating here for an hour and a half.
His contact information will be in the newsletter. And we didn't mention this earlier, but he's on the board. He's on our board. He's in charge of our school grants and scholarships on the board of the.
And worst case scenario, go to Cadence at Poway Gardens, say you want to speak to Farmer Roy.
Yes.
But yeah, and then plus we'll be on the, we're on the tour
Yep.
in March, so come on by.
Yes, the Poway Garden Tour in March includes Cadence, and he mentioned Asparagus, which is a nearby school with an incredible garden that is also on the tour. So you should be able to get all the info that he's mentioned in printed form soon. So
You're welcome. Or if you got problems along the way, wondering why my tomatoes taste so crappy or whatever, you know, let me know and be happy to help.
what's the date of our garden tour again?
I
March?
believe it's March 26th.
Saturday in March, the 26th is, it's in the newsletter.
Yeah, you'll only hear about it about 100 more times between now and then.
Janet asked, where did you get your funding?
My funding?
Yeah,
For this place here?
Yeah.
I work for a place and that.
they have the funding.
Yeah, when we, Cadence at Poway Gardens, we're a memory care facility. We have 32 acres here. We have 7 buildings. We have capacity for 86 residents here. They all have Alzheimer's. So at one time it was privately owned. Now we're corporate, and nothing has changed in my world. And I have a budget, and I don't abuse it. Don't tell them that though.
So, oh gosh, everyone, thank you so much for coming and staying for this. This has been a marvelous time in a greenhouse with a heater that has come on and off, but we've still managed to do this. And we're going to see some of you. I'm going to see some of you at my place later on this month. And I'm going to see some of you at the book club later on in this month. And if
any of you are in the Poway or Rancho Bernardo area this weekend, on Saturday, Asparagus High School is actually having an annual fundraiser, but it's I'm not saying go there to give them money. I'm saying go there and check it out. It's 40 raised beds, all fed by tilapia. And it's the most stunning school garden that I've ever seen in my life. Absolutely fantastic.
it really is incredible. I got to see it. Roy took me. It's amazing. All right. Our time is up, and it's been great. And I'm gonna.
You said you had a joke for us.
Oh, I did. Oh yeah, I do have a joke. We'll go out on a joke. So what do you? No, I can't remember the joke.
Oh God,
Wait.
you suck.
I do. I practice it. What's the joke, Karen?
What do you get when you have an elephant in your garden?
Oh, that's right.
What
What
vegetable?
What do you get when you have an elephant in your vegetable garden? Squash. Thanks, everybody.
You see why you forgot that one. Take care. Thank you.
See ya. Thank you.